appointments the first big commitment in the sales process for internet leads. Now, appointments are going to technically be your customer's first yes. Okay, that gives the customer a little bit momentum behind this deal. The lead went from browsing to buying. All right. So a lead submitting a form means that they're curious. Okay, maybe they've made a bunch of micro decisions along the way. They've done some research, they've compared models, they've looked at your website, they've submitted information, requested information, but now they're going from browsing to buying. Okay, they're setting an appointment, which means they're committing to a specific time and a specific day, which ultimately means that you've stopped the shopping process. They're no longer on their phone looking at different dealerships and different websites. They are committed to coming in to visiting your dealership, okay, on a schedule with intent. So it's really all about a psychological shift of I'm thinking about it to I've got somewhere to be. Okay, so it's all about psychology. When you make a commitment to someone and say that you're going to be there at a specific day and time, you feel obligated to follow through with that. So do customers, okay? If they commit to being at your dealership at a specific day on a specific time, it is now set in their brain that they are obligated to follow through with that. And if they don't, likely they're going to give you a heads up, okay? So this shift actually really matters because without it, your team is chasing and they will continuously chase or give up on these leads. So when you get the appointment, you've earned the right to prepare, to prioritize, and put energy into this buyer who's mentally already halfway there. All right, now what's the impact of having a structured appointment setting process when it comes to dealership success? A structured process will help dealers see a higher show rate, meaning you're turning those online leads into actual customers. You're going to see faster sales cycles and a stronger ROI from their leads. All right, a structured process eliminates guesswork. Okay, it gets everyone on the same page. It's something that you can teach across the board. This includes scripting, confirmation timelines, a process for appointment follow-up, and consistent touch points throughout that process. Don't leave it up to whoever happens to answer the phone. Okay, you build this process, you train this process, and leave it up to those who are trained to accommodate these customers that are online or over the phone. Okay, it needs to be a process that's repeatable, trackable, and coachable. So here are some of the fundamentals when it comes to confirming appointments effectively. Okay, say the appointment out loud. That is very, very important. Write it down. Have your customer write it down as well and send it back to the customer. So what this all means is this is going to be basically a sell yourself in writing is what we like to call it. So some techniques that salespeople can do when it comes to setting their appointment. The first is going to be sell yourself in writing. So this technique is a little bit dated, but it works. Okay, this is the actual act of having your customer write down your information. It could be as simple as saying, hey, do you have a pen and paper? If not, I can wait. Or it can be, if you don't, let me send you a text message. But what this does is it has your customer actively write down your information. And the psychology behind that is that you remember and retain more information if you physically write it down. Now, the idea behind that is that if a customer remembers the appointment, they're more likely to show up to it. So selling yourself in writing when setting an appointment is going to be important to make sure that your customer is retaining the information. They know that you have set time aside for them, and it helps them feel a little bit more obligated to follow through with that commitment. Now, some techniques that you could use when you're confirming the appointment is say the appointment out loud. All right. Hey there, John, I've got you set for 2:15 today. Do you remember where we're located? Something small and simple, okay? You can even have them write it down at this point in the conversation if for any reason it seemed like maybe they didn't remember and send it back to the customer. Now, a great example of that would be, great, Jason, I've got you set for tomorrow at 2:15 to check out that 2023 Can-Am Defender that's pre-owned on my floor. When you get here, ask for me. My name is Heather, and I'll have it pulled up, cleaned up, and ready for you to take a look at it. All right, so short, sweet, and to the point. Now, one thing you don't want to do when you're confirming appointments is ask your customer if that time still works for you. So if you have called your customer for that appointment today, they're set to come in today at 2:15, and you call to confirm that appointment, what you don't want to do is ask them if that time still works for them, if they are going to make it, if they remember, because what you're doing is you're giving your customer an easy out. Okay, working for these appointments, it is not easy. It's hard work. So you want to make sure that if you are confirming your appointment, you don't give them an easy out. If they have to reschedule, make them work for it. Okay. But if you ask something like, are you still going to make it in today? Are we still set to see you today? That makes it very, very easy for them to say, okay, so instead, what you're going to do is you still want to ask a question to keep control of this short conversation. Okay. But you're going to ask, do you remember where we're located? So let me give you that in an example. Okay. So, hey John, this is Heather with Easygoing Powersports. I'm just calling to confirm that I have you set for today at 2:15. John, do you remember where we're located? You do great. That's right. We're right off of this street and that street. I'll see you a little bit later. Okay. Perfect. So instead of saying something around the lines of, hey John, I have you set for 2:15. Does that time still work for you? Because again, that makes it easier for them to say no. We're just simply going to ask them if they remember where we're located and then give our two main cross streets. Now, this is going to do a couple things. This is going to make it harder for the customer to back out of that commitment, but it's also going to make your customer feel taken care of, respected, and scheduled, and it reduces any of that flaky factor. Now, when it comes to following through on those appointments, you want to do a couple different things the day of the appointment. Okay, the day of the appointment, first thing in the morning, after you've handled new leads, you want to call and confirm. If you can't get a hold of them via phone, then shoot them a text message and shoot them an email. You want to get a confirmation out the same day. This touch point is going to really help increase that show rate. Okay, there is a much higher show rate when it comes to confirmed appointments than there is appointments that were set days prior and then not touched until after they've already missed their appointment. So taking that extra step and initiative to confirm your appointment day of is going to really help your show rate. Now, a little gravy on top that you can add, you can always add a picture of the vehicle, maybe a short video if you want to do it that way, if that's a little bit more personal. I know a lot of us are gearing towards or leaning towards video nowadays, so that's definitely going to be something that's helpful. But this is going to help create more connection, and more importantly, it's going to help create more excitement. Okay, an excited customer is more likely to come into your dealership and go through all the steps of the sales process than a customer who isn't excited. Now, a soft appointment is going to be great. Come in Saturday, I'll be here all day, just ask for me. That's a soft appointment. Okay, that's not a customer that's committed to coming into your dealership, but maybe that customer was a little bit harder to get to even agree to come in. So we set a soft appointment. Now, what you can do is send a text within 30 minutes of their missed time. Let's say that they agreed to come in Saturday afternoon, or you had somebody for a specific day and a specific time. It's Saturday at 12:15. Send them a text message within 30 minutes of their missed time. Okay, something short and sweet. Hey, Jason, just checking in. I had you on here for 3:45 today. I noticed that you're not here. I hope everything's okay. Should we reschedule? Don't be afraid to ask for that reschedule. It's very important. A closed mouth doesn't get fed, so make sure that you take the time to ask for that reschedule. Okay, this leaves the door open, but keeps the urgency in the tone. Now, for those soft appointments, those leads who say, yeah, I might swing by, maybe I'll come by this weekend, you need to firm it up a little bit, okay? Use a phrase such as, let's lock in a time that works for you. I want to make sure my team is readily available for you. How does tomorrow at either 2:15 or 3:15 work? Okay, you want to offer those two times because it makes it easier for your customer to choose rather than offering one time in which they can just easily say, no, that does not work for me. When you firm it up a little bit and use a little bit more of a to the point tone, what you're doing is you're turning this maybe or let me check my schedule into a lead that actually commits. Okay, if you get a lead that commits, you're more likely to see them turn into a customer. Now, how can dealerships work in volume to achieve a higher overall show rate? This is very important. Okay, the truth is not all appointments are going to show. Okay, you could expect about a 50% show rate for solid appointments. A solid appointment is going to be a specific day and a specific time that your customer agreed to come into. You can expect about 50 of those to come in. Okay, and that's okay if you're playing the numbers right. So what you should be doing is setting daily appointment goals. An ideal daily appointment goal should be one appointment per hour. Okay, that is actively picking up the phone, talking to customers, trying to get at least one appointment per hour. You can see that slow down a little bit depending on your traffic, depending on your lead volume, but that should be a very solid, well-rounded goal for each of your reps. Okay, so let's say that you have 10 appointments on the board, you didn't confirm any. already you're shooting yourself in the foot, giving yourself a chance to lower appointment show rate. So pick up the phone, call each appointment, all 10 of them, make sure that you confirm them. And out of those 10, you should likely see 5 of them show. That should be your standard goal. It's a 50% success rate. So out of those 10 appointments that you set, 50% should show. From those 50% that are showing, 50% should sell, and so on and so forth. So you should be setting standard daily goals, okay? Not just weekly goals, but daily goals for your teams to hit. This will help you achieve your overall monthly goal. Making sure that you coach daily to help them hit this goal is going to be very important. All right. If your reps aren't able to get to the appointment and they're not able to influence or persuade your customers to come into the dealership, get that commitment from them to set a specific day and time with them, then you should be hopping on the phone, taking a TO, having them turn that over to a higher level representative or a higher level of management to try to get that confirmation or that commitment from that customer. So why is it important to have your customers write down the day and time of the appointment? Okay, it makes it real. Okay, it gives your customer a tangible piece of paper that they physically took the time to write on the specific day and specific time to come into the dealership. Okay, this ties into Psychology 101. If you are in a classroom and you're listening to a lecture and you're not taking any notes, you're only going to retain about 10% of that information the very next day. But if you're in a classroom and you're taking notes, you're going to retain about 50% of that information. Okay. Same thing with your customers. They are listening to you talk. They're listening to your pitch. They are listening to all the words that you're saying while probably multitasking. So making sure that you take a moment to sell yourself in writing and sell that appointment in writing is going to make the difference of whether or not they retain that information. So what it does is it's going to help them retain that information. And then they're also going to have that tangible piece of paper with them along for the ride. Now, this doesn't have to be a long, drawn out process. After you've got the customer to commit to a specific day and time, what you need to do after you got your customer to commit to a specific day and time, what you need to do is simply ask them, great, Jason, do you have a pen and paper handy? If not, I can wait. What this does is this lets them know that you are already in the motion of waiting on them. So they are going to do one of two things. They're going to tell you, oh, no, I don't. I'm doing this, or no, I don't have access to it right now. Or two, they're going to hustle to get that pen and paper. And that's what you want them to do. You want them to hustle to get that pen and paper. Now, this again does not have to be long and drawn out, but say, great, Jason, write this down. My name is Heather Deatherage. I'm got you set for Saturday at 2:15. Now remember, when you get here, just ask for me again. My name's Heather. I'll have that razor out cleaned up and ready for you to check out when you get here. Okay, so something short and sweet. Have them write down your name, have them write down the appointment day and time, and if you need to, your number as well. Now, how can management involvement improve the quality of appointments? Okay, when a manager follows up before the appointment, it adds some credibility, but it also adds some urgency. Okay, you can use something simple like a text message. Hey, Jason, this is Heather. I'm the internet sales director. I'm the internet sales manager over here at Easygoing Powersports. And I just wanted to say thank you for setting an appointment today. Okay, we'll be ready for you. If you need anything beforehand, just shoot me a text and let me know. Or you can also make it a call. Okay, it doesn't need to be drawn out. It doesn't need to be long, but it makes it a little bit more personal. Okay, not to mention, we all know how customers feel when they talk to a manager. They hear the word manager and they get giddy. Okay, that excitement level goes up. They think they're talking to somebody who calls the shots, who makes the decisions. So this little bit of effort can make a huge difference in your show rate when it comes to your digital appointments or your online appointments. Now, this is going to help keep your buyers emotionally engaged. Okay, gets them excited, makes them feel all warm and fuzzy. So make sure that you have a manager touching these appointments. Okay, this is also going to help keep your team a little bit sharper. All right, if your reps know managers are reviewing appointments and doing follow-ups, they're going to be more intentional with how they set them, which is very important. Okay, that kind of ties back into a previous conversation of how to pay your internet department. But if you want good, well-rounded, solid appointments, you want to make sure that these managers are consistently reviewing them. That way they're set with intent rather than just set to be set. Now, tracking and optimization. How can dealers measure the effectiveness of their appointment setting process? Okay, so there are some different keys that you can measure, okay? Specifically when it comes to the appointment setting process, all right? How many people are you talking to? Your contacts. How many people are your reps talking to in a day? From there, how many appointments did they set out of those conversations that they had? Now, out of those, how many did they confirm? Did they confirm all of them? Did they confirm none? Out of that, how many of those appointments that were set showed? And then how many sold? Okay. So realistically, we like to use a kind of general 5 by 50 rule where you track all of those and divide it by 50%. So let's say that you talk to, I don't know, 60 people, or I'm sorry, call 60 people in a day. Okay, you've made 60 outbound calls. Okay, you talk to maybe 30 of them, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. It's typically we do see around 30% contact rate depending on how your touch points are. So let's say that you talk to about 20 of those people. Out of those 20 people that you talk to, you should be able to set around 10 appointments depending on your skill level as a rep. Out of those 10 appointments, let's say you confirmed all of them, only half of them are going to show, so 50%. So out of those 10, 5 showed. Out of those 5, 2 to 3 should sell. Okay, so you have got to play the numbers correctly. Okay, you want a high productivity when it comes to outbound activities. Okay, outbound calls should be high. The goal and expectation for outbound calls, a good number to start with is about 8 to 10 calls an hour. Okay, for Harley dealers, you're probably looking closer to 5 to 8 calls an hour. But that's going to be where you start to measure everything is with the phone call or the outbound activities. Okay, now the numbers will tell the story for you. So if you see, you'll end up seeing a rep setting tons of fluff appointments that don't show, or if they're not following through with a strong enough call to action. Now, strategies that can improve both the quality and quantity of booked appointments. Like I said earlier, it all starts with the outbound activity. Okay, if you're sitting around waiting for leads, you're going to have very few conversations in the day. If you're sitting around waiting for the phone to ring, you're going to have very few conversations in the day. But if you are proactively picking up the phone, dialing out, and trying to contact these leads, you're going to have more conversations. So the more outbound activities that you have in a day, the more conversations you're going to have. The more conversations you have, the more appointments you're going to set. Okay, so make sure that you also incentivize the shows and not necessarily the sets. Okay, this is going to pull out all of those fluff appointments. Okay, so offer a small flat commission on shown appointments, or maybe even a small bonus or incentive on appointments that show. All right, if you focus on the sets, you're going to have a high set rate and probably a much lower show rate. And use manager intros as a way to build value. Okay, a good example of this, when you come in, you're going to meet with my manager, Heather, who will walk you through all of the trade-in values. They'll show you the machine and they'll get you all ready for your test ride. Whatever the case may be, okay? Use small manager intros. When a customer hears manager on the other end of the phone, it creates that urgency and they want to get to the dealership. Okay. And then get creative with some follow-up content. All right. Send something like a walk around of the unit. I've got dealers that I'm working with right now that every single lead gets a walk around of the unit. I've got other dealers where they don't even get a phone call. So send a walk around, maybe some different model comparisons, send them a few different options if they're undecided, or just a friendly video. Hey, Jason, it's Heather from Easygoing Powersports. I'm going to be your main contact when you get here. Arrive Tuesday at 2:15, and I'll make sure you get taken care of. Okay, I just wanted to say hi ahead of time. So these strategies are going to help boost your trust, and they're going to help increase the excitement of your level. They're going to help boost trust with your customers. And it's going to help keep their excitement, which is very, very important. We want to keep their level of excitement through the roof. Okay, this is an emotional purchase for them. So you have to make sure that you're maintaining that excitement. Now, what is one simple change that you can do to drastically improve appointment show rates? Okay, confirm and repeat the appointment details. This is so simple. Confirm and repeat the appointment details out loud back to your customer. All right. It sounds very basic. I know it does, but most reps actually don't do it. They're so either burnt out or excited that they got the appointment that they are too nervous to repeat back that it's an appointment. So a couple different things. Take out the word appointment from your vocabulary. Okay, let's say visit. Let's say, your trip to the dealership, your visit to the dealership. Take out the word appointment. Don't do it. Okay. But always repeat back the details of the visit to your customer. Okay, so great. I'm set to see you. You're going to be visiting us on Tuesday at 2:15. Be sure to ask for myself. Okay, this is again going to increase trust, which is very, very important for customers nowadays. Okay, nobody is stepping foot into a dealership unless they trust them. It's going to increase their memory and it's going to increase the commitment. Okay, it's going to really solidify that commitment from your customer, making them feel obligated to follow through with it. Now, layer this with some same day confirmation or morning check-ins, and you're going to start to see a huge difference when it comes to these appointments set. I do have an appointment funnel that we utilize here that we have used for years that has proven to be super successful. What it does is it looks like a funnel, right? It's shaped just like a funnel. From top to bottom, it starts very broad until you can narrow it down to a specific day and time. So what you're going to do is utilize this appointment funnel by asking close-ended questions. Okay, A or B, one or two, green or red. You're going to ask close-ended questions offering two options to help guide or corral your customer to a specific day and time. Okay, this is very important. So let me give you an example of what that looks like. So I'm speaking with a customer over the phone. They're excited. I'm trying to get the commitment of the appointment. I'm going to say, great, Jason, I have some time available for you to come visit. Are you thinking you're going to be available today or tomorrow? Tomorrow, wonderful. Okay, great. So I've got you set for tomorrow. Now, Jason, are you more of a morning guy or an afternoon guy? Afternoon. Okay, so are you thinking around lunchtime, like 12:15? Or are you thinking a little bit later, like 3:15, 3:45? 3:45, perfect. Now, from there, I'm going to go ahead, confirm. Great. So let's do tomorrow at 3:45. And I'm going to jump into selling myself in writing. So it's very important that you have a structured, very well practiced so practice makes prepared. Okay. If you practice enough on how you set your appointments, it's going to roll right off the tongue. And that's very important. If you are scattering or if it's too laid back and it doesn't really have a structure, if you're winging it every single time, you're not going to be able to measure how successful it is. Okay, so use something that is successful, set these appointments, and track from there. If you want to boost your show rate this week, okay, go pull 10 random leads from last week's CRM log. Okay, look at how many had appointment dates, times, names confirmed, and sent back. Okay, now if that number is low, start there. That is your opportunity.
Still guessing what to pay on a used bike? Still holding aged units that just won't move? It's time for a real system. Moto Hunt's ultimate used inventory playbook shows how the best dealers are finding better inventory, pricing trades right, and turning used bikes faster with fewer mistakes and more margin. It's short, real, and free to download right now. Visit dealers.motohunt.com to grab your copy or check for the link in the notes.